And yeah, it might be, why is he smiling if we're down and the market seems to be tanking a little bit on us here? Because it feels very good as a community when we can get on top of bear flags, talk about how our community can get out of the way if you choose to, or you have capital put together for further drops down. We've seen some very, very dangerous signs here in the last couple of days, and of course overnight, what the market would do is try to attempt fate here and, show that positive setup. And it's not like we've dropped a lot. We just need to see this clear out because Ethereum did have a CME from a couple weeks ago, and it was around the 4,100. You could say 4,100 to 4,200, but the closer to 4,100 you get, and it was a Friday close about a week ago, and about 9 days ago now, but it left us a little bit out of balance. Not a lot, not anything crazy, but outside of that, what we're seeing are these bear flags that we're forming. And I've been trying to be very clear about the bear flags just because they're playing, and that doesn't mean nothing goes up. There are patterns that are on opposites, but we'll have to go through XDC. We'll have to go through data because data right now is outperforming the market, which is good to see. IoT token. Band's still holding up very well, sitting at that 72-cent mark. It's come up from 60 or 59 cents roughly, hit that 80 cents, but it's so we'll look there as well. You got some like GRT that have bounced up from about that 6-7 cent mark in the last couple of weeks, hit that 10-cent mark, and now it seems to be hitting a resistance at that level as it's come back down 11%. And now we need to see where they start to settle in. XRP, as we know, was up to that 306, 320, and also 330 area pretty consistently, but it was unable to break through those resistance. So the first thing I want to do, because I find it unrealistic to think that data's most likely going to continue to underperform the market like it is, but money has to find yield somewhere. So would I be mad? Absolutely not, because I actually, well, you guys know, data's one of them that I like and that I have right now. And there's a lot that I still have, some that I don't, that have already broke the structures. But until these micro inverse head and shoulders break, you can't just unload because it looks bad. There's a few of them that structure has absolutely already unfolded, broken down. And yeah, you start to look in the other general direction. But another one that does catch my eye today, but I still think it's going to yield. It's not going to do a data. I think if we could hold out here for XYO, and we're going to get to XRP. I'm just trying to build a narrative in the tokens that you don't see so much, so you can see how it builds in every single sector of the market. It doesn't matter if it's XRP. It doesn't matter if it's a known or unknown token. Somehow, some way, all of the trading bots all trade in the same fashion. So I think a technical move that would be very nice if it does drop this bear flag. You might not come all the way down to there, but that's the low support structure. But I want to get these out of the way early because we're going to focus very deep on XRP today because there's just a lot to talk about with XRP, and I'm excited. Very excited. So that's 9.8. So 9.8 cents, or 0098 area. So that's what I'm looking at for the technical drop. Now, I'm very happy to see data is finding the yield right now because money does have to find yield somewhere when it's pouring out. And we've had this inverse head and shoulders, and we've talked about data very distinctly because of the setup right here. You can't really get rid of it until it gets invalidated at 1.4, and then you could wait for 1.16, but you can't get rid of an inverse setup right now. Some of the other ones, like we've shown with XYO just now, for example, just the way it's set up, yes, you have the inverse setup, but you can see you have a bear flag that's set up here as well, correct? So this micro pattern didn't form, and it didn't hold at 105. So now it formed the bear flag, and we play it out. We don't worry about it. The bigger inverse head and shoulders is set up. Polygon's another one. It had a nice rally for a couple days, but it's not going to circumvent the market, but it has a beautiful inverse head and shoulders. Now, it very well could backtest a neckline setup here, and you can speculate, but it could bring you as low as, well, in my opinion, if it wants to form this, it could come as low as 2175. But the point is we're starting to build these top side patterns. So yes, this is where you get the correction that makes it look bad, but this is where people get tricked. Because if these are small bear flags, this doesn't mean the end of the world. This means a 5 to 10% drop. It's not the end of the world at all. Now, what would make it interesting is two scenarios. One, for whatever reason, if Ethereum decided it would come down, and one, it hasn't technically broken down yet, as we know, but there is a death cross that got rejected in the hourly. There's a death cross, I believe, that's see, the 2 hourly, if this gives way, this would try to form this in the 2 hourly. Rejection here. If you fall below 4,199, that's a bad sign. 4,170 is that area we know, because that's the support in the area from the run up. And then it leads you very bare. Then it's 3,994. There is nothing else here. And that's where I think it would make sense to come down to. Actually, 3,941 would do a lot of good here. Because I argue, and I'm not in the FEG indicators and all the fancy things that some people use, but to see the finer micro FEGs, but what I'm looking at is where it never came back and ran. I see a big area at 3,941. That's why I labeled it. Yes, there's a support at 3,994. To me, if you got below 3,941 is when you'd have to worry about a much more sustained drop, because then it might work its way all the way back down, you know, but I can also see, though, which is making me so happy here on Ethereum's correction. I don't know if anybody else is seeing this, because sometimes when the noise is in front of us, we get a little scared and we don't want to look at what's actually developing. Do you see this? I definitely see this. I'm going to put this in a higher time frame to make it look, because the daily, you're not going to really be able to see it. I mean, the weekly. The daily, it starts to form a little bit. The 4 hourly is when you're going to start to notice some real development here. And this is what's going to let us know a lot of information. We like information here, right? We're friends here. I can be honest. We like information. I think that's why 102 of you are here during the workday on a Tuesday morning, which I know we've been loving these lives during the summer, but when my son goes back to school during the morning, you know, well, he's going to be in school full time. He's going into elementary. And that starts in a few weeks, which I'm excited about, because I want to see his transformation. But at the same time, anyhow, so we formed this little channel here. So I could definitely see this doing something like this. And the farther the extension, the greater the boom. Support, resistance, support, resistance, support. Let's say it rides down here and all of a sudden gets here, gets on top. I mean, you could see something very majestic happening right around this point. So if we start looking at this, that gets us to Friday, the 22nd. August 22nd, 2025. 222, in fact. So I don't know, but we'll see if this plays out. I'm not saying we have to come down there, just like with Bitcoin. Just like with a lot of things. I'm not saying we have to come down there, just like XRP. 250 to me is a viable area. Does it mean we have to come down there? Absolutely not. It doesn't even technically make sense. Because I still see a way out of this without going all the way down there. It's just if you invalidate this inverse head and shoulders, it's a problem. Because then you have to reestablish lower. But it's not as big of a problem as I think a lot of people think. Because I can show you a compelling case where this gets even better if it does break this inverse head and shoulders. And I know, well, Tom, what the hell are you talking about? Well, it's because this is not the grand pattern right now. We're working on something different lower, which is better than this micro movement. I know it sounds stupid, but it's true. But I still think 285 can hold, and this could be a moot point. I really do. It's just if Bitcoin, which we'll get to in a second, I'm trying to build a narrative so nobody gets pissed. But if Ethereum, or I mean, if Bitcoin breaks, and we're going to talk about it, and don't shoot the messenger, folks. You never want to shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you the facts. And this is the fact for XRP. You want to hold this structure. If it doesn't hold this, it's going to bust that inverse head and shoulders. So I'm just giving you a little bit more of a finer look here. When you look at it through a technical perspective, this is how you get that 285, in fact. You know, my much talked about 285, this is how I got it. I've had the data that we could use ever since this was formed right here. For support on August 5th, we got the data on August 7th for the resistance. Downtrending resistance, downtrending support. Had a little bit of an overzealous hook in the head, the inverted head. If this holds, you should. If it bounces, you should use this as overwhelming support at 285. Maybe even, you know, you can twist down here if it takes a little bit longer and see. That's where it gets interesting because you're not going to want to take that long because then you're going to come back down to that. But anyhow, the bigger formation is not this micro inverse head and shoulders. It never was. It's the macro. It's the macro. So is there a chance you back test here? You better fucking believe it. You back tested here. You did us some justice coming to 272 area. But like when I look at patterns, like I would like to see full clearings. And I don't mind it coming like down here and hitting 274 because it did us an inverse head there. But like you come up, you come down, you rise up. I mean, you came here. We back tested. I would have really just liked to see some kind of confirmation in this area. That's all. That's all I wanted. But who knows? I don't know if it's going to come all the way back down here. This would just be to retest this area. Like we came up, nothing ever back tested this area. So I do put a lot of stock into this. Now, it doesn't have to come back down here. And I like this area because if it falls through this pattern, this is what gives our saving grace would be this 250 area. You could even do 248, but 250. I like that firm. I like that firm number. But that's a saving grace area. And it'll start to reveal itself if that's actually what's happening later on. Because the saving grace would be that it actually pulled itself into like a falling channel here. And you would start to recognize that because then you'd come through almost like the head formation, it'd bounce down. But that's for further times anyhow. You don't need to worry yourself with all of that unless this breaks down. But it would behoove me not to show you, you know. And like when I wake up, yeah, I see a lot of red, right? It was green when I first posted this and I said, XRP moment of truth. Will $3 hold Ethereum hump CME gap? Bitcoin last stand or rising wedge slashes Bitcoin. Okay. And when I put that, we were at 115,200. And that's the rising wedge. There's that last stand support there that I drew out if we wanted to make an inverse head. I'm not sure how good that's going to work. Technically, the target, and I've drawn this out, is down to 81,500. The guru has me very unbelievably annoyed this morning. Now, I love the guru. Oh, Axelar is going to drop. I posted this yesterday. These have bear flags. So I said you can get out of the way yesterday. I don't get out of the way of everything. Like, I stake some things. Like, I showed Crypto Cooter yesterday because he asked questions. I mean, for all the backlash Crypto.com gets, don't use it for trading. But if you have ALGO, right now it's like 3.4% staking. It's a one-day unstaking period for ALGO. Graph is on there. And I've had it staked on there since like 6.8 or 7 cents. It's going to come down back into that area. But I'm not looking to buy and sell until this shit happens for certain things that I can do certain things. And that's paying like 8.7 or 8.9%. And I've gotten like, I don't know, 400 or 500 graph off of that so far. And then there's a lot of them. Like Casper, if you have a way to send it there, it's over 10% on the staking. I don't have a way to send it over there. Like, I don't have a way to buy spot in the proper way to send it. But there's a lot of opportunity. I wouldn't trade there, but I certainly would stake there. You have to be KYC, and that's how I do my tax stuff. At the end of the day, that's how I prove my crypto tax. You know, and it'll cost you some money. If you lose money, it's a good place to have stuff on there while it's losing money. And then when you want to sell it, just send it to a no KYC exchange like BITUNIX. And then if you need the money, you send it back in UST, pay the small fee to convert it into the USD from USDT. And then you're good to go. But anyhow, getting back to this, I held no bones about this the last few days. In fact, in the Telegram, and I hope all of you are in Tom's army, because this is such a vital tool. Whoops. This is such a vital tool. I was so happy that you sent me that. I feel like I'm a closer family with everybody, but that was defined in his beautiful family. Anyhow, oh, I need to pause something real quick because there's something you guys can't see. All right, well, unfortunately that showed for a split second because my screen double tap paused the play, but that was not intentional. Let's see. So in the pager area, so we talked yesterday about I put it at 7:46 p.m. and I left it like this. Time to be real. We all see the bear flags playing out right. That's all I'm going to say. Proceed with caution. These can drop token market wide 5 to 8% quickly. And then like in the morning, I always share this. So it's always nice to see this in the morning. I share the setup for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP for the most part. Sometimes I'll do XDC and others. As far as XDC goes, will it outperform the market? I don't know. Remember we talked about that exhaustion wick last night and during the live yesterday, that it could technically form a double bottom here if it held 808. It would be the exhaustion wick hold, and we wouldn't know that until we got first layer confirmation of getting back above 869. So watch this very closely to find. It's either we get back above 869 or we lose 80 and we're heading towards 72. Can it outperform the market? Probably not. But it's one opportunity to do what it needs to do. It's one opportunity. So it's just something to pay attention to. And I'm glad that you're all here with me this morning. I have to go to my son's food therapy today it starts at 12, so we'll be leaving here at 11:45. It's raining hard out today. I didn't go to the gym. I did a 2 a day. I did one at the gym, one at home yesterday, weightlifting, and then I'm going to do one at home tonight since I didn't walk to the gym today. I'll get my steps in another way. I've already got 1/6 of my steps, but I'll get a couple thousand at T's therapy. But it's a very bearish morning, and I think a lot of people are caught up with alt season because that's what the mainstream narrative is, which it's coming. And if you're part of the group trade, please have $250 to the side, and that's all I'm going to say. In the Telegram, you can find out more, only because I need a big test here. If we can get that 10% drop, and I have to be patient, but you're part of my case study right now, and it's vital because I need to know what this does. So once this happens, I have a buy set up. If it happens, which I'm hopeful, and I know it sounds bad. I'm hopeful we drop the 225 so I can add this, so we can see if it adds it properly. And defined, you're going to have to be on top of that with me, but that's all I'm going to say. But I encourage you, join Tom's Army, get into the Telegram. That's a special thing for the members of Tom's Army. There's 475 people in there currently. Started making it a paid thing at 375 or 468 just because there was a lot of people that were trying to steal from the community, let's just say. But good morning. 10:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So we've done a good job going around the market, covering XRP so far to an extent. But now we'll have to get into the total 3. But first, I got to take and I apologize, I only got to take my essential amino acids. It also has 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. But now this is my multi-mineral supplement. This is good for immune, gut health, cellular energy, all that good stuff. But it doesn't have any fillers or anything like that. I like to kind of take this powder type of stuff in a sense, or these, not like more like a peptide, I guess you would say. Uh-oh. I didn't even notice, because when I came on, the NASDAQ was like not doing so well, down like 60 points. But because of the way my screen's set up, I can see the Dow's up 211. So I'm like, oh, maybe the NASDAQ's recovering. I sat up. The NASDAQ's down almost 200 points right now. S&P's down 12 points. Wow, the NASDAQ's almost down 1% right now. That's huge. Oh man, that's even worse for crypto. I think we're right about what we talk about with these bear flags. I get excited coming here every day. Yes, it's red, and I've lost money this morning because I have stuff. Like ALGO, I've got 40,000 of them staked. But yeah, obviously, as a community, we're buying it a lot cheaper and buying and selling and doing what we needed to do. But when you talk about holding into an alt season, remember with XRP, for some of you who have been around for a long time, even though we bought it at 34, now it's at 294. And some of us, you know, we had more and sold some and have bag that stays. And you guys, it's whatever you do. But the point is remember how we'd go from 30 to 70 to 45 to 96 to 55 to 38 to 77 to 44 cents to 69 cents. Next day, 41 cents. Next day, 87 cents. Drop followed by a 38% drop in 3 days. To get to where we were going, this is what ends up happening. So that's why you've got to find your areas. And I've been trying to help the community so much, saying there's no reason to buy XRP at 330, 350, 320, 280, 290, 275. If you're buying it there, all you have to ask yourself is two questions. One, why am I buying it at $2.94 when I could have bought it at 35 cents if you were in this community? Is it because of FOMO? Yes, it is. So stop. Or two, you didn't know about it in time and you just now know about it. And because of all the speculation you hear, you can't not buy it because it's a guaranteed $10,000 token. Again, don't buy it because of that. And this is not financial advice. And this is for entertainment purposes only. And if you see the comments in the comment section the last few days on my videos, I'm getting raped in the comments. They're bending me over, stripping my pants, and taking my innocence in the comments. Completely misrepresenting what I do, but to the point of, you know, the public perception. How can you be talking shit about XRP when you talk about XRP? What an idiot. Like, no, I'm not talking crap about XRP. I'm telling the truth about XRP. About the buying cycles, about what's going on. That's not being an idiot. That's being realistic. You know, and just, it's like, oh, well, you want people to follow you, but you're going to be stupid enough to talk about the bearish cycle when we're in the arguably the biggest alt season coming and all this other junk. It's like, yeah, but you're looking for a macro perspective. But if you're looking to add or buy in and not been in or part of this alt season right now, and you're trying to position yourself for the very first time, you have to look in the micro to position yourself for the macro. Nobody ever made a lot of money in the macro by making terrible entries in the micro, because generally your retail emotions will take over. I don't know a single person watching right now that'll buy and it goes down 25% in a week and is just going to sit there and buy more. I'm just saying. But in the micro, you'd be able to see that. You'd be able to see that. And then people will be like, well, how do you predict the data? How come that didn't go down with the rest of the market? It's not that it didn't go down with the rest of the market. It's just having a moment. And it had an inverse head and shoulders set up. And it invalidated that structure. We asked the rest of the market to do it, and it couldn't do it. And data's been overblown to the downside for a very long time. Maybe it's going to have a band-like rally here. And look at band. Remember how it was down to 59? A band-like rally got it up to 80. And now despite multi-day drops here to the tune of 11%, it still sits up by 12 cents a token. This is what ends up happening sometimes. They save themselves from further drops by having these run-ups just before. I mean, look, we were just at, on August 2nd, we've gone from 59, then we had a 34% totality. But now from August 2nd, even if you're trying to buy red days, it's still up, what, 20.5%. So you still have to buy it. You know, it's costing you so it's costing you 120%. Well, not 120%, but you're paying the whole price you would have paid plus an extra 20.5%, even though it's red today. You know, so there is different entry points, but some of them, you know, are showing different signs. Like I would argue here at the XYL, like I said, if you haven't been in, unlike some of the other ones that are showing opportunity, I think this one will show you the opportunity. If this plays true, it's either going to be 0097, or that 0096. And then, you know, I get a lot of questions. Why do you show so many? I'm trying to give you a view into what I like. And this is the best way I know how. Instead of saying I buy this, I buy that, I swing, you know, I bought this and I sold it. Now I'm waiting to, just showing you the overall picture of what I'm gonna have, what I will have, or what I do have, and not having to phrase it in so many words and being like, hey, I go through this for a reason. Axelar, it has that same flag set up. The technical drop that I had, first target was 31.42. So now it filled that out. Now the question is, does it fill out the bigger drop? We don't know that yet. This is where first buying opportunity from when we were at this point at 34 cents, 31.42 was the first chance I told the audience you might be able to buy it there. But be aware, there's a bigger flag that needs to play out down to 21.98 if this is going to happen and invalidate. But now remember, if that drops out, you invalidate that whole setup. And now there's an even bigger set. So what I'm thinking here, and it's so difficult because this has been beaten to shit right now, badly. This token's getting hammered. And the crazy thing is this has ties to Ripple. It has a more limited supply in comparison to some other tokens. I just want to make sure. The circulating supply right now is 300, or the total supply is 1,070,075,609. It has 301.9 million in circulation right now. It's only 31% in circulation, but it gives you a lot of upside. Now, I almost argue that this could be like the new Ripple. Buying XRP at 30 cents, 35 cents, 20, 18, whatever chance it gives you. But it makes sense to me that drop to 21, and I only say that because when you start to line it up, man, I can't even argue with this anymore. When you line it up like this, it makes fucking perfect sense. I can't even argue it. So I'm trying to find some kind of, you know, validation, and that would get, man, but I don't like it dropping all the way to there. So then I messed with it like this and said, well, what if maybe it holds this, keeps the structure of the inverse pattern. Maybe it won't come to 21. Because 21 just seems so fucking low. And then I'm like, did I mismeasure this? Where would that rejection point be? And that could be what I did because I did it at an earlier time when it wasn't even formed yet. So now let's start seeing some of the evidence. Fuck, it's not even easy to do it like this just because of the way it's set up. It's craziness. It is. It's craziness the way this is set up. Because it's literally set up in a two-step drop. And there's no way to avoid the two-step drop. If it breaks that first step and can't hold 31.42, it's going to take the second drop. Now, if it held it, you could bounce yourself right back up to the resistance, which is what's interesting here. It could find itself right back up here if we hold 31.42 in a quick reversal. If it doesn't, you know, I mean, we're just measuring it out. Now, we could, technically, we could say the daily fucked up, and it puts us somewhere near there, but see, it continues to point farther down. Like, you need to look to the farther part of the pattern if this doesn't hold. Fuck, it's so crazy. I don't want to be a speculator, but we'll let the pattern control it. We'll let the pattern control it and not that second bear flag. We'll keep the number under for a quick wick, but we're going to control it like this the best we can. So if 31.42 doesn't hold, you could have 27, but the fear would be that 21, what was it, 21 something? Let me see this real quick. Because we're going to have to face the facts in one of these just to see in the worst case scenario. The problem is if this pattern reverses, I mean, we're going to get a hella deal. I want a hella deal. To be honest, I'm rooting for this. I didn't think I would, but I'm rooting for it. Could you imagine how much we could buy at 20 cents compared to... I don't know how many I would buy if it goes down there. But it would be more than 10,000 like I originally was going to have. I mean, it forced me out with the bear flag, but I want it to play down completely now. So completely. Anyhow, so 31.42 fails. You've got 27.25 cents and 20 cents. It gets incredibly difficult in an incredibly quick fashion. Incredible. It's incredible, but that's why every single token is its own observation, because if everybody said, oh, well, data, you would be dependent on the market. Well, you have an outlier. That's it, not even an outlier, but it's doing its own thing right now. Money finds, it always has to. There's always somewhere it finds its yield. And in the past, data's done a lot better in market red. For some reason, some of these IoT tokens, like MXC was one of them on Moonchain, that would do better when the market was red. ZBCN would do better when the market was red. I know it's not technically IoT, but I'm just saying that's another token that historically would do good on red days. It's ironic because I don't have many tokens besides like the ones I said staking and data because of the setup. And then, yeah, there's a few, but be interesting. I'm interested to see how this ends up playing out. Because right now, we really should take this next leg. Like, there's no reason not to. I think it does us a lot of good. I think it gives us the benefit. What I'm worried about is just that complete dropout. And right now, the 2 hourly, we're at the point. We're right at my end point. We've touched that 4,170 area. That's the support structure that if fails, you end up having the risk of a fall below 4,000, or at least close to it. 4,009, I think, and then it's 3,993. But I feel great about this. I mean, we've nailed this for days. We've at least nailed this part of the drop. I mean, some things have already dropped 5-7%, but we've nailed this. This was, and I know a lot we're talking Crypto Cooter, and some of you others in the Telegram were talking about ALGO at 24. Don't stop there. 24 is not enough. If this bear flag plays out, it's got to come down to at least 22 something. But if you don't want to invalidate this, yes, I agree. 24. Well, not that it's going to invalidate it, but if you don't want to come down farther, I agree that it would have to hold that area. But it's technically giving a 2-layer drop possibly. So first layer would be here at 22.7 if 24 breaks, obviously. And then second layer could be all the way down here if you build it out, back down to 17.2. So that would be in the scenario that Bitcoin has a rising wedge. I'm assuming. Now, I don't want it to come down. It's actually a little bit higher, but what I think might be building is this drop right there makes a lot of sense to that 222 area. I'm a little high on mine, but it does make sense. Even a little bit farther does make sense to retest some of the, it's a big double bottom here, but you know, we'll see. Big inverse, that's a wide inverse head and shoulders. And at 22.2, it actually forces a double bottom here. Instead of this inverse pattern, it would force a strong double bottom here. Kind of like what you've seen below. So yeah, there's a couple different scenarios here with ALGO. But I would definitely, 24 cents I like, but I would definitely keep my eye open. If we get further market drops, like it seems like we very well could with Ethereum, I would keep my eye open for somewhere in this area. Maybe 22, I'll put it as low as 222. What? 223. I don't want 223. We want the signs of the angel since that was in the number. There we go. I don't think that invalidates anything either. I don't think that invalidates anything. But I mean, that's the microcosm right there if it were to continue down. But maybe we can hold 4,170 for Ethereum, and then it's a moot point, and then we can just go back up. But even with that falling channel that's emerged, it does make sense to continue to roll. Bearish formation in the 4 hourly. I'm going to argue the daily probably looks like hell. Oh yeah, engulfing fully to the downside, making a new low. That's not necessarily a good sign. Did it make a new sign or a new low? Hold on. Oh yeah, it definitely made a new low. Weekly. Oh. Doesn't look awful yet, but it you know, it can come down here. Tap. You don't, I mean, we're getting in some interesting areas. We're about one quick swift drop here from being below 4,000 again for Ethereum. But no, what I was saying to start with the guru, made a great call 2 days ago, or yesterday, or 2 days ago. Got out of the way. Yes, Ethereum was at like 4,360 and Bitcoin. I talked about it at like 117, 116. Yeah, it cost him like 70,000 because he waited, but he had already made 130,000 or whatever. So he still secured 60,000 in profit. So what does he do today? He gets on and panics because of the movement while it's during his day. Says, ooh, I see the big rising wedge. I see bear flags, but I think it can go up from here. Buys Ethereum at 4,306. Buys Bitcoin at 115,000 or 116. And what, an hour later, it reverses like this. Literally, he hit the magic button. He bought, and it completely reversed. That's what I mean. Don't overthink yourselves. Even if you want to buy, like I said yesterday, it's tempting, but it's either going to have to force out these patterns and play out these bear flags before I become interested in the ones that I'm looking at, or it's got to prove it over the top. And a perfect example would have been with data. If you weren't in a prove over the top, it was simple. And yeah, you had to wait a couple percent, but all you wanted to do was see the hold on this inverse right shoulder that happened at 153. And then you just had to wait to retake the 200-day, and you could have a swift move. Or you could have looked at it in the micro, I think the 30-minute. And once you got back above, even the 20-day, you could have rolled. You could have decided you got validation here, even if you waited until the doomsday at 1.7 and wanted to do it. Even with that confirmation, you could be in and out for a 7%, boom, as it retested that resistance. But I'm not going nowhere with this. I've been waiting a long time for data to do, like poking it with a fucking stick. Do something, sir. So this is its way of not having a further drop. And you start to see this in certain assets across the market. Yeah, it happens a lot. Polygon just did that. Band just did that. You know, we even had IOTA for a 2-day stretch go up 9%. And now with these last 2 days of drops is actually above that 1920 level where it dropped a couple days ago. So this is how they sustain. XRP, remember it at 289? It's actually above that, even though it sustained the 3% drop out of Ethereum now from the top. Today at least, but about 7 or 8% now. But it's sustaining the levels by having that artificial run back. That's what a lot of things have done. And that's a good thing. XDC sustaining this level by having a quick surge back up after melting down for a double bottom, bounce back to 8.5, and now it's melting down with the market. But that's okay because it hasn't lost this structure at all. So it stayed in range. Now, the thing is, if Bitcoin does this next drop, it's going to be funny how it looks like some of these are holding and how quickly they go to 7 to 10% drops across the board. Like, it'll be hilarious in a sense how quickly XRP would go from 295 to 250 if Bitcoin actually does this drop. Because you'll be like, I thought these levels were holding. Well, they were, but, you know, eventually when you start knocking on the door too many times, it just collapses. You know, we've talked about it's built on quicksand. No matter how high it goes, it's still built on quicksand. And that means Bitcoin's built on quicksand until it reduces or invalidates this rising wedge. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, for opportunity, it's proven us 100% right on this rising wedge. And if it breaks down here, that's a mighty big drop that Bitcoin's got coming here, folks. I mean, a mighty big drop. You're talking about even from where we're at right now, not from where it broke down. That's a $31,800 drop, or 27.9%. And the way I look at it is, do we really think the government's going to get us rich? Buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, buy all this shit that you don't even really want. Ignore the alts when this drop happens, everybody, because Bitcoin's the greatest thing since sliced bread. The world's largest Ponzi scheme. What's the government going to tell you? Not to buy it when they are Satoshi Nakamoto? Even though everybody thinks it's one person. I mean, how hilarious. That's like thinking Donald Trump runs the United States. How hilarious to think the federal or the central banks, which our central bank is the Federal Reserve, to think that they don't actually run this. You did see a sale that goes unnoticed today. There was a sale of Bitcoin. And it wasn't a large one. It was like $53 million. I don't remember. Oh, not Axelar. Why did it do Axelar? Bitcoin sale. I think it was 56 million. It's not a crazy amount. Where was it at? I don't remember if it was BlackRock. No, I don't think it was BlackRock. But somebody sold and BlackRock was buying Ethereum. But it's a perfect correlation. It's not going to have the up-to-date one. Of course not. The one from a few weeks, of course, that would come on here. Fuck, I don't remember where I seen it. Anyhow. That's okay. That's okay. But that all plays into this next section. That all plays in this next section. In fact, I want to do the alt slash Bitcoin. There's an alt to Bitcoin chart. Unless you have to do Bitcoin. Fuck, I don't remember how it was. That's why I hate not it being slightly different than my phone. There's a Bitcoin versus market. Fuck, I can't remember what the lettering is. Let me go to...
The chart symbol for Bitcoin's dominance over
not
altcoins
Bitcoin
is
dominance.
typically BTC.D or
not the...
This is a great question because it's a specific chart that many crypto traders and analysts use, but it's not as universally standardized as the BTC dominance chart. There isn't one single official chart symbol for the total market capitalization outside of the top 10 tokens.
I can't remember. But there's one that excludes the top 10, so XRP would be excluded from this. I want to make sure. Oh. $11.13, yep. So the total two, let's see if we can help, is a cryptocurrency market index that measures the total market capitalization of all digital assets except Bitcoin. No, that's not the one I want. I don't want the one with everything but Bitcoin. I wanted the ones without the top 10. Damn it. Oh, we can do the E50. That's okay. Excluding the top 5. That's fine because we want to take out Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana. Who else is in the top 5 right now? Or we can do the top 10. And there's a reason for this because this would show you a true flow for alt season. Let's see who the top 10 tokens are. So this would exclude, if we do the top 5, see, I want to get Solana out of there too. Okay, so it would get rid of the top 10. I would like to get rid of the top 10. But, man, I wish Solana was in the top 5. Fuck. I wanted to get rid of Solana. Because that's 500. Although Doge has 150 billion. 88, yeah. I want to exclude the top 10 because the top 10 get a lot of attention. And I really think that if we do a chart like this, this will be more innovative for us. This excludes the top 10 cryptocurrencies for alt season. It would give us a more defined structure than just the total or the total 3 minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it's going to be harder to find money into these tokens outside the top 10. Can we agree? I think we agree on that. Do we agree? So if we look at it like this, we can start to find a more unified structure. So outside of the top 10, there's only 287.73 billion in every other token outside the top 10. Doesn't that put it in perspective a little bit? Honestly. And then when you take it out of Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's only 1.017 trillion. And then you take out 3 through 10, and now there's only 28% of that for the rest. So basically the top 10 tokens control all of cryptocurrency funds besides 28%, which is a great way to show this. So, and all other tokens that are going to point more to an alt season, because XRP's already had a big run. Solana's already had a big run. Bitcoin's already had a big run. Ethereum's already up almost 200% now from just about a month and a half ago, 170. But it hasn't had a huge run, but it's starting to run now. As for all these other altcoins, have not necessarily had that big run. So I've been thinking about this for a while, excluding the top 10. I thought about the top 5, but we got to get Solana out of there. And also getting Dogecoin's volume that it gets from the artificial inflation of Elon Musk and all this other stuff. It's in our best interest. So I think if we follow the others, which we'll call it the, it's just the others. It's the all others outside of the top 10. I couldn't remember how they listed it, but I knew there was a chart because I've been looking at it. And it's compelling to me. And once I draw this out, I think it might be a little compelling to all of you as well. So when you look at the total, I mean, well, it's the others, we'll call it, outside of the top 10. And how many of you knew this existed? How many of you didn't? And this is very compelling to what we're looking at. What is this pattern? Is that a rising wedge? Or is that a rising triangle? We're having a conversation here. There is no wrong answer. Once we establish that, we'll look further into the all-time uptrend, which is how it's set up on my phone. And we will come to logical conclusions based on the analysis that we do today. And yeah, it would seem you could do this, but I think that it did something like this because just the way it set it up. When it came down, it was resistance. When it came over, it was the uptrend support. And then you got the expansion, which is what we did with XRP when we finally started the up. So yeah, below it would be ditch support if we fell below. But obviously, there's a layer in between. So that's how I have it set up pretty much on my phone. And that's everything excluding the top 10. And we're trying to innovate here. We're not trying to stay the same. We're trying to get ahead. We're trying to see when alt season's really going to happen. And now we've added innovation here. We've got the total 3, and others. So now we can really see a defined flow here. Ooh, man, is it tempting with IOTA sitting again under 20 cents. When is enough tokens? Never is enough tokens. Remember, Tom, bear flag. Bear flag. But there is inverse head and shoulders also. IOTA's tough. But I just got to remember, this could be playing out something a little bit short term. But definite inverse head and shoulders set up here. If this maintains this area, this could get very juicy here. Anyhow, let me continue. Total, because I gotta get going here in a minute. Because my son, we gotta get him ready for for his food therapy. I apologize for not saying hi to everybody. I had to get through all of this. Let me see what everybody says about the 10. Thank you, OL. Thank you, OL, for that. I really appreciate it. Some are saying it could go to 275. Why stop there? I've been talking about 250 if it breaks down. If it breaks 279, it's not. If it doesn't hold a 278 support, I don't know why they think it would hold 275 unless it's just a quick wick. But it points to 250 area. I agree, Daniel. Go down to 250. 1970 Legend says the others is showing a rising wedge. If it is, it's dangerous. But we better hope it's a rising triangle. Like I said, there's a scenario that alt season doesn't exactly happen when we think. But as long as it holds that 213, we are cooking. At any point, if it comes down there, as long as we hold that. To get the bona fide breakout into real, I mean, you can come up there without even breaking out. So there's a lot of room here. Then you got channels, right? You got layers. 135. And obviously, this would be a Bitcoin. If it breaks down to 91K is how you start breaking down to 213 and so on and so forth. Because it's going to drag all the altcoins with it. It will right now. You don't have to believe me, but it would. So, and then basically look at Ethereum. Right now we're testing to see if these drops are going to happen. You know. So, I hope I come back on here later and say, guys, we had a majestic reversal. Unbelievable. Data outran the market. But you see what happened so quickly. Remember when we said it's unlikely that it's going to outrun the market? This is all I meant. And it's not the damper dreams. It was fun while it lasted. But the odds of it outrunning the market are slim to none. That's what sucks about all this. You seen it yesterday with XCN. And right now it's back testing, obviously. But they can't outrun the market is what sucks. XCN did it yesterday. Let's see what kind of hold it had. None. It had no hold. It went all the way up to 145, and now it's back down. Well, can't say no hold. Kind of doing what Data did. Dropped 10% already. I mean, when you start to see these give it all back, that gives you higher credence that this is all falling apart. Because now you got one that was up 15, 20, or 15%, and it very quickly pulled back because it just can't hold it. It's not the greatest sign. I see lots of opportunity developing. I just see so much opportunity developing. I would rather just see it fall through at this point now. Just give this market credence, drop this 5 to 10% and let us off the hook here. I'm tired of feeling like a worm on a hook waiting for this drop to happen. Oh, we're waiting for it to bite. Or maybe it'll just be a half bite. But I mean, it's like every time it's another 3 to 5%, but it won't just do the bigger drop. I would love to see XRP at 250 and just clear this shit out. And hold, though. Plus, with a significant drop like that with the altcoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, we get to see Ethereum at 100, or if Bitcoin goes to 106, let's say, and holds that area and doesn't have to go to 91, at least now we know. If Ethereum goes down to 3,993 and holds and doesn't go any farther, at least now we know. If XRP goes to 278 or 250, at least we know. But I hate being stuck in these areas where you just don't know except for the bear flags forming. It's like you know, but you don't know. So be blessed, everybody. I got to go. I'm running out of time. I'm so glad we were able to spend some time together. Time got away from me. I encourage you to join Tom's Army. Get involved in the Telegram. If you're trading, looking for opportunity when the drops happen, or you think this is the best part of the drop, BITUNIX, the lowest spot in leverage trading fees, no KYC. You know, develop a plan of your own and develop opportunity. I'll be here every step of the way. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021. Never miss a day.